So the Suns had a super surprising start, as we all know, and they have since been going through it. They've lost 8 games in a row. This season could potentially be over if things keep going like this. So what's going on? Well, I think, for one, I feel like they've kind of fallen back into the bad habits that were plaguing them before this season. I mean, in their last 8 games, they're one of the worst teams in the league in terms of turning the ball over. I mean, for the season overall, they're like 9th in turnover percentage, but in the last 8 games, they're 28th. And what is the reason for that? I mean, is it possible that having Ricky Rubio be your only reliable playmaker is just not sustainable long term? Potentially. I mean, Devin Booker certainly has made strides with his passing, but it's not his natural thing, right? So is there a chance that this team just needs more, solid playmakers? Or just simply wings who can dribble a little bit more? Yeah, potentially. That could be something. I think they could definitely profit off of a big who can do a little bit in playmaking situations. I mean, Aaron Baines is certainly team first, but he's not exactly a guy who's going to be throwing it to cutters and, having a whole bunch of assists. And Ayton could be that guy, but he's only played 1 game, of course, in the last 8 games, 2 overall. So it's still a wait and see with him. I mean, is Tyler Johnson the guy? I don't know. I mean, he gets into trouble when he shoots more than 4 times a game, but he may be your only other dude who you're content with giving the ball for more than just spot ups and finishing at the rim. And I mean, I don't want to harp all day on just this, but looking at their touches per game on NBA.com, specifically in the last 8, because this is when it's been bad. Rubio, 87 touches a game, 7 seconds a touch. Granted, a lot of that is him bringing the ball up floor. Devin Booker, 56 a game, 4 seconds a touch. And then it's dropping off to Saric and Eli Okubo and Oubre, and that's a pretty hard drop off. So there's a chance that they just need more dudes who can just be reliable passers and just kind of know what to do. I think they could really benefit from having an Andre Iguodala type of wing. Not Iguodala, because I highly doubt he would go here, but it's either that or you hope that Oubre can improve his handle and be more than just a cutter and a finisher and that type of thing. Even though Oubre has been pretty okay this season, I would say. If we keep looking at these last 8 games, to be nice, they have had a couple of close losses, the Spurs, the Nuggets, there was one other one in there. So if a couple of shots go their way instead, there's a chance that, they'd still be below 500, but it wouldn't be as ugly. But I do want to make note of the fact that their 3-point shooting has been pretty bad in the last 8. And is it possible that there's just a little bit of bad luck going on? Because they're shooting 29% in their last 8 games, but they're shooting 35% for the season. That is a pretty drastic difference. And some of that has been Devin Booker. I mean, he hasn't had a good 3-point shooting game in a couple of weeks at this point. Granted, he didn't play for 3 straight games, so there's that for you. But that could be something for Booker, where he's just simply going to make more shots soon. So I guess that's where I stand on the offense. Number 1, the lack of Ayton is probably catching up to them now because they don't have that other dude to throw the ball to, on top of a couple missed shots. Booker missed a few games, and maybe not enough ball handlers. If we look at the defense, which has also been bad, some of this is going to be because of the bad offense. Certainly other teams can get out in transition, and you're shuffling back on defense, that type of stuff. But of course, like all things, that's never the entire story. So if we look at their defensive rebound percentage, it's still been pretty okay. They're second in defensive rebounding in the last 8 games. So it's not like they're coughing up a bunch of offensive boards to other teams. So honestly, what I think it is they're just kind of slow on defense. I took a glance at the 4th quarter against the Warriors, where they got outscored by 20 or something, and they were looking to get a pretty decent win. And I mean, some of it was simply the Warriors made some and the Suns missed some, but there were a lot of times where the Suns' rotations were just slow. It was Warriors run a screen up top. Defender on the wing sneaks in just a little bit too much. Warriors throw it to, it was mainly Alec Burks, and then he immediately goes off the dribble, gets inside, and there you go. That's the beginning of the end, really. And there were a couple of dumb fouls here and there. So it just seems like Phoenix is not playing good defense, is the only way to put it. I don't know. There's not like one specific thing. It's just the rotations, and they were also crowding the ball handler a bit on the Warriors on screens, but they were kind of slow to do it, so the ball handler was still able to make the right play. So it's just kind of being a step slow on top of like Draymond hitting a contested 3 or 2. So yeah, how do you fix that? I don't know. You simply be a little better, be a little faster, be a little smarter. And if you can't be a little smarter, then you get players who can be, or you hope that the guys you have can grow into that. I mean, I think Rubio and Baines are only going to carry you defensively so much, There were also a few really stupid fouls where they basically got the stop on the Warriors, but at the last minute they fouled them, whether it was a jump shot or whatever. There were a few that happened like that with D'Lo. So some of it's being more disciplined, and some of it is just simply knowing what you're doing, I guess. I mean, they're 28th in fouls for the season at about 23 a game. And if you look at the teams in that area, the good one is the Clippers, and everybody else is bad. So typically, if you're in a habit of fouling a lot, it's usually not going to go too well for you. And when I look at those two things, turnover percentage and fouls per game, those were two things that had plagued Phoenix forever before this season. And it is a little alarming that the one thing they definitely did correct was turnover percentage has fallen to being pretty rough lately, and it makes me start to think this could get ugly, if they don't clean that up pretty quickly. So that's a lot of it, honestly. Like, if you're turning it over a lot and you're fouling a lot, then you're kind of beating yourself before the game even really begins in a way. So there's all that. But to be nice, they are still a good rebounding team, which was something that they were horrific at a year ago. I mean, if you're not grabbing boards, you're fouling, and you're turning the ball over, you have 0% chance of winning. So it is nice to know that even in this 8-game skid, they're still a pretty decent, at least defensive rebounding team. They're like 9th in the league in defensive rebounding. So that's something to feel okay about. Yeah, again, I think some of it is Ayton coming back. He can certainly help with the rebounding, screen setting, and just doing general things on offense. You would hope his defense isn't a disaster. We don't know. So anyway, before I get out of here, are there any moves this team can make? Well, they have most of their picks, but they should not be trading any of their firsts. They do have a lot of their seconds, so that could help you out with something, although they don't have any seconds for the next 2 seasons. They definitely have Tyler Johnson's expiring. There's also a decent crop of young dudes here. I mean, you might have to ignore your feelings a little bit and move on from pick a random dude depending on who'd be available between Cameron Johnson, Mikal Bridges, somebody else, Cheick Diallo, Ty Jerome, Eli Okubo, whatever. Maybe some other team sees something in those guys. Dario Saric is another one. Who could be available? I mean, I feel like Drew Holiday would solve a lot of the problems they have because he'll give you the defense and the playmaking, but I don't really know if they have the stuff for that. I mean, would the Pelicans be okay with salary a young dude who seems okay in like a couple of seconds for Drew? I feel like you could probably do better than that. Now, Phoenix's second rounders could potentially be basically late first rounders, so that's possibly something, but I don't know. So is there anybody else available? I'm sure there is. As far as who they are, I don't know. So yeah, that's all I got. Phoenix, we'll just see how the rest of the year goes. Could go good, could go bad. I don't know.